The chicken was still warm when I found the note. Steam rose from the half-carved chest on the cutting board, knife abandoned mid-slice. Mashed potatoes congealed in the pot. Green beans sat in lukewarm water. Our anniversary dinner, prepared for two, eaten by none. The handwriting was Lorelei's, looping dramatic cursive that looked like it belonged on wedding invitations rather than goodbye notes. Taking a breather. Don't panic. Just need some air. Back soon. Love you. I stood in our kitchen for 20 minutes, holding that piece of paper, listening to the hum of the refrigerator and the tick of the wall clock. The house felt different, empty in a way that went deeper than just missing one person. My phone buzzed. Text from Lorelei. Made it to Santa Fe safely. Staying at the Desert Wind Inn, room 237. Just need a few days to think. I stared at the message. Santa Fe was 800 miles away. When had she even left? I'd been at the packaging depot until 6, same as every day for the past 3 years. She'd kissed me goodbye that morning, told me she was making my favorite dinner. The lie sat heavy in my chest. I called her number, straight to voicemail, her voice bright and cheerful. Hi, you've reached Lorelei. Leave me a message, and I'll get back to you soon. It's me, I said after the beep. Call me back. We need to talk. I tried again an hour later, and again at 10, and midnight. Each time, voicemail. By morning, I'd called 12 times. At work, Aaron noticed my hands shaking as I repaired a hydraulic pump. You look like hell, Ike, he said, setting down his coffee. What's going on? Aaron Lutz had worked the depot longer than anyone. 38, divorced twice, and the only person I'd ever met who could trace a phone's GPS from his laptop during lunch break. If anyone would understand, it was him. Lorelei left, I said. Just took off. Left a note saying she needed space. Women do that sometimes, Aaron said, though his expression suggested he wasn't buying it. How long's she been gone? Yesterday, says she's in Santa Fe. Santa Fe? Aaron raised an eyebrow. That's not exactly a weekend getaway destination. What's she doing there? I pulled out my phone and showed him her text. Aaron read it twice. Room number, he said. That's specific. Almost like she wants you to find her. Or she's telling the truth and just needs space. Aaron laughed, but it wasn't friendly. Ike, I've been married. When a woman needs space, she goes to her sister's house. She doesn't drive 800 miles to check into a hotel and stop answering her phone. He was right. I knew he was right. What do you think I should do? Check her social media, Aaron said. Women can't help themselves. They post everything. I'd never been one for Facebook or Instagram, but Lorelei lived on them. Her phone was always in her hand, capturing moments, posting updates, commenting on friends' photos. That night, I logged into her Instagram from our shared computer. She'd posted 3 photos in the past 24 hours. The first showed the Desert Wind Inn's lobby. New adventure, the caption read. Sometimes you just have to follow your heart. The second was a selfie of her at some restaurant, smiling wide, a margarita in her hand. Living my best life. The third made my stomach drop. It was Lorelei at what looked like a bar, arm around a man I'd never seen before. Tall, dark hair, wearing a leather jacket. He was looking at her like she was dinner, and she was looking back the same way. The caption read, Meeting amazing people. Life is full of surprises. The man was tagged at Travis_Rook_87. I clicked on his profile. Travis Rook, 29 years old, based in Fort Union, our city. His bio said, live fast, die free, and his photos showed him at various bars, clubs, and motorcycle rallies. In several, he was with different women, always the same carnivory smile. But the most recent photo stopped me cold. It was from 3 weeks ago. Travis at Murphy's Bar, the place where Lorelei and her coworkers went for happy hour every Friday. In the background, barely visible, was Lorelei. She was laughing at something, her hand on the arm of a man whose face was cut off by the frame. I scrolled through more of his photos. There, another one from 2 weeks ago. Same bar, different night. Lorelei was clearer this time, sitting at a table with her work friends. Travis was at the bar, but his eyes were on her. My hands were shaking again. I spent the next 3 hours going through both their profiles, cross-referencing dates and locations. The pattern became clear. Travis had been watching her for weeks, commenting on her friends' photos, liking her posts, and she'd been responding. Private messages. I couldn't see them, but the timeline was obvious. He'd been courting her, and she'd been letting him. My phone buzzed. Text from unknown number. $45,000. No cops. 24 hours. I stared at the message until the words blurred. Then I read it again and again. My hands shook as I took a screenshot. Without thinking, I dialed Aaron. As soon as he picked up, I said, "Someone's got Lorelei. They want 45 grand. Jesus Christ, he muttered, his voice tight with alarm. You call the police? Not yet, I replied, eyes still fixed on the message. The message said no cops. You have to call them. This is abduction. What if they hurt her? My voice cracked despite myself. There was a pause on the other end, just the faint sound of Aaron breathing. Then he said, "Where are you right now?" "Home. I'm coming over," he said firmly. "Don't do anything until I get there." While I waited, I stared at that photo of Lorelei and Travis, the way she was looking at him, the way her body was angled toward his, the way her hand rested on his arm. This wasn't abduction. This was something else entirely. Aaron arrived with his laptop bag and a thermos of coffee that smelled like it could strip paint. "Show me everything," he said. I walked him through the timeline. The sudden departure, the hotel in Santa Fe, the Instagram photos, Travis's profile, the ransom text. Aaron studied each image, taking notes in a small pad. "This guy Travis," he said. "You notice anything about his recent posts?" I hadn't looked past the photos of him with Lorelei. Aaron scrolled through Travis's feed. "Look at this," he said, pointing to a photo from 4 days ago. He's at some bar in Santa Fe. Same bar that's in the background of one of Lorelei's photos. So he didn't meet her in Santa Fe by accident. He was already there, waiting for her. The coffee turned to acid in my stomach. Aaron kept scrolling. "And look at this." Another photo taken yesterday. Travis in what looked like a hotel room, but not the Desert Wind Inn. The bedding was different, cheaper. The caption read, "Sometimes you have to take what you want." "He's not in the same hotel," I said. "No, which means either she left with him willingly or he took her somewhere else." Aaron looked at me carefully. "Ike, I have to ask, how was your marriage?" "Really?" The question hit me like a slap. "What do you mean?" "I mean, were there problems? Was she unhappy, looking for a way out?" I thought about the past few months. Lorelei had been distant, distracted. More time on her phone, less time talking to me, more nights out with friends, fewer nights at home. But I'd chalked it up to stress at work, the usual ebb and flow of marriage. She was different lately, I admitted, rubbing the back of my neck. But I thought it was temporary. Aaron tilted his head. "Different how?" "Secretive," I said. "Always texting someone, getting dressed up just to go to the grocery store, taking forever at happy hour with her work friends." He nodded, slow and deliberate, like he'd heard this story before. "Ike, I think your wife was having an affair, and now either she's in real danger." He paused. "Or she's playing a game." My stomach dropped. "What kind of game?" Aaron met my eyes. "The kind where she gets a new life, and you pay for it." An hour later, the ransom text came again. Time's running out. Instructions. Venmo at Travis_Rook_87. $45,000. Then wait for location. Aaron's expression hardened as he read it over my shoulder. "There's your proof. The ransom goes straight to the guy she was photographed with. This isn't random." I stared at the screen, my hands numb. "So, what do I do?" "We trace it," he said, already setting his laptop on the coffee table. "See where she really is, then we decide." His fingers flew across the keyboard. Within minutes, he had a map pulled up, 2 blinking dots marking GPS coordinates. One for Lorelei's phone, one for Travis's. "They're not in Santa Fe anymore," Aaron said. "They're about 2 hours east of here, middle of nowhere." I leaned in, studying the map. The dots hadn't moved in hours. "That's not a hotel," I murmured. "No," he shook his head. "It's not." Aaron zoomed in on the satellite view. The coordinates showed a cluster of buildings surrounded by farmland. An old homestead by the looks of it. "We could call the police now," Aaron said. "Show them the evidence." I thought about that. Police meant reports, investigations, lawyers. It meant trusting the system to handle something that felt deeply personal. "Or," I said, "or we go look for ourselves." I'd never been a violent man, never been in a real fight, never owned a tool, never even raised my voice in anger. But sitting in my kitchen, looking at photos of my wife with another man and reading ransom demands from his Venmo account, I felt something cold and sharp take root in my chest. "What would we need?" I asked. Aaron was quiet for a moment. Then he closed his laptop. "Tools, rope, first aid kit, and a very clear understanding of what we might find when we get there. Meaning your wife might not want to be rescued. We drove out to the coordinates in Aaron's pickup truck. It was a 40-minute ride through increasingly empty farmland, past rusted mailboxes and collapsing barns. The homestead was exactly what the satellite images had shown. A main house, a smaller outbuilding, and a barn, all surrounded by overgrown fields. 2 cars were parked in the gravel driveway, a red Honda Civic and a black Chevy Camaro. "That's Lorelei's car," I said, pointing to the Honda. Aaron pulled over about a quarter mile away, behind a stand of trees. "Phone signals?" he asked, checking his laptop. "Both phones are in the main house. Been there for 6 hours." We sat in silence, watching the buildings. No movement, no lights except for a dim glow from one window. "What's the plan?" I asked. "We get closer, see what's actually happening, then decide." Aaron pulled a duffel bag from behind his seat. Inside were zip ties, a taser, a crowbar, and a first aid kit. "Where did you get all this?" "Divorce number 2, he said grimly. "My ex-wife's boyfriend thought he was tough. Turns out he wasn't." We approached the house from the back, moving slowly through tall grass. The glowing window belonged to what looked like a kitchen. I could see figures moving inside, 2 people sitting at a table. Aaron handed me a small pair of binoculars. Through the lenses, I saw Lorelei. She was sitting across from Travis, and they were talking. Not struggling, not tied up, talking, laughing. She was wearing a dress I'd never seen before, something low-cut and red. Her hair was styled differently, more glamorous than she ever wore it at home. She looked happy. Travis reached across the table and took her hand. She didn't pull away. "Well," Aaron whispered. I handed him the binoculars without speaking. He looked for a long moment, then lowered them. "I'm sorry, Ike." "Keep watching," I said. Through the binoculars, I saw Travis get up from the table. He walked to a window and looked out. Not toward us, but toward the road, like he was expecting someone. When he came back to the table, his demeanor had changed. He was no longer the charming companion. He was agitated, gesturing sharply. Lorelei's expression shifted too, from happy to concerned to frightened. Travis grabbed her wrist. She tried to pull away, but he held tight. He said something that made her flinch. Then he picked up his phone and started typing. My phone buzzed. Another text from the unknown number. "Time's up. Pay now or she disappears forever." "Now it's real," Aaron said. I watched from the car as Travis turned his phone toward Lorelei. She stared at the screen for a long moment, then started crying. He leaned in, said something I couldn't hear, and she nodded frantically, wiping at her cheeks. "He's using her to make this look legitimate," I said, jaw clenched. Aaron shifted beside me in the passenger seat, eyes still on the scene. "What do you want to do?" My mind raced through the past 24 hours. The dinner she bailed on, the evasive answers, the carefully curated Instagram posts, the ransom text demanding 45 grand. I remembered Lorelei getting dolled up just to head to Murphy's bar, claiming it was just happy hour with coworkers. I remembered how she barely looked up from her phone on our anniversary, and I thought about her choice, leaving with Travis in the first place. "I want to go in there," I said quietly. Aaron turned to look at me. "Both of them?" "Both of them." He gave a single tight nod. "Front door or back?" "Back," I said. "Kitchen door." We moved around to the rear of the house. The kitchen door was old, with a simple lock that Aaron bypassed with a credit card. We slipped inside quietly. I could hear voices from the front room. Lorelei pleading, Travis telling her to shut up. Aaron tapped my shoulder and pointed toward a doorway. We crept closer. "Told you this would work," Travis was saying. "Husband thinks you're abducted, pays the money, we disappear, simple." "But what if he doesn't pay?" Lorelei's voice was shaky. "Then we make it look real. Rough you up a bit, send him some photos. He'll pay." "You said you wouldn't hurt me," Travis laughed. "Baby, I said a lot of things. Don't mean I meant them." I stepped into the doorway. "Hello, Lorelei." She spun around, her face going white. Travis jumped up from his chair, knocking it over. "Who the hell?" "I'm Isaac Berman," I said calmly. "Lorelei's husband." Travis looked between me and Lorelei, his expression shifting from surprise to calculation. Well, he said. "Husband shows up to pay the ransom in person." "How romantic." "There's no ransom," I said, "because there's no abduction." "Isaac," Lorelei started, but I held up a hand. "I saw the Instagram photos," I told her. "I traced his profile. I know you've been talking to him for weeks. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish. This whole thing, I continued. The sudden trip, the hotel room, the ransom demand. It was planned. You wanted out of our marriage and you wanted me to pay for your new life. That's not... I didn't... Shut up, Travis said to her. Then to me. Doesn't matter what you know. You're here, she's here, and you're going to transfer that money or things get ugly. Aaron stepped out of the shadows behind him. No, they don't. Travis spun around, saw the taser in Aaron's hand, and his face went pale. Sit down, Aaron said pleasantly. Both of you. They sat. I looked at Lorelei, really looked at her. The makeup, the new dress, the styled hair. She'd prepared for this like she was going to a party. How long? I asked. Isaac, please. How long have you been planning this? She was crying now, but they were angry tears, not sorry ones. You don't understand. You work all the time. You never talk to me. You never take me anywhere. How long? 2 months, she whispered. 2 months. That's how long they'd been planning it. Our anniversary had been 6 weeks ago. While I was booking the restaurant, buying her flowers, writing out a card about how much I loved her, she was already packing her bags in secret. The ransom was Travis's idea, Lorelei blurted, her voice shaky. I just wanted to leave. I was going to send for my things later, but he said you could get paid for walking away, I finished for her. She nodded, eyes downcast, shame flooding her face. I turned to Travis, my gaze hard. 45,000. That's an oddly specific number. He gave a nonchalant shrug. Half your annual salary, according to her. Seemed fair. Fair, I echoed, tasting the word like something rotten. Travis didn't flinch. Look, man, she was already gone. I just helped her make the transition profitable. I studied him, mid-20s, leather jacket, the kind of smirk that probably worked on lonely women in dark bars. Everything about him was curated. The messy hair, the stubble, the scuffed boots meant to look lived in. What do you do for work, Travis? I'm between jobs right now, he said too smoothly. He's a bouncer at Ronnie's, Lorelei added quietly. And he does other things. Other things? I repeated, narrowing my eyes. Travis shot her a sharp look, enough to make her flinch. Aaron, standing a few feet away, glanced up from his phone. Pill runs, he said. Did a quick background check. Travis Rook. 3 arrests, 2 convictions for possession with intent to distribute. Currently on probation. I turned back to Lorelei. Did you know that? She shook her head, visibly stunned. But you knew he wasn't a good man. I thought, her voice cracked, I thought he was different. Different from me, you mean? She didn't answer. I walked to the window and looked out at the empty fields. Dusk had settled like a weight, and the silence out here was absolute. We were miles from anywhere, miles from anyone who might hear or care about what happened next. Turning back, I said, Aaron, cut the zip ties. He looked up, frowning. What? Cut them loose, I repeated. Aaron hesitated, then pulled a folding knife from his pocket. With a few quick motions, he sliced through the plastic restraints binding Travis and Lorelei. You're both free to go, I said, stepping back. Lorelei blinked, stunned. What? You're free, I said again. Leave. Go start your new life. She turned to Travis, who was already rubbing his wrists and shifting his weight toward the door. Isaac, Lorelei started, her voice trembling. You made your choice, I said flatly. You chose him over me. You chose $45,000 over our marriage. You chose to lie, to cheat, to steal. So go. Be with him. But go. Travis didn't wait for further discussion. Come on, Lorelei, he muttered. Let's get out of here. He moved quickly toward the door, but Lorelei hesitated, her gaze locked on mine. Isaac, she said softly, can we talk? Alone? No. Please, she said, taking a small step toward me. There are things you don't understand. I understand everything I need to, I said, my voice quiet but firm. Travis grabbed her arm. We're leaving. Now. They walked to the door. Lorelei looked back once, her face streaked with tears and makeup. I did love you, she said. No, I replied. You didn't. They left. Aaron and I stood in the empty kitchen, listening to car engines starting outside. That's it, Aaron said. You're just letting them go? I pulled out my phone and showed him the photos I'd been taking while we talked. Close-ups of Lorelei in her new dress, laughing with Travis. Clear shots of both their faces. Audio recordings of their conversation about the fake abduction scheme. This is just the beginning, I said. The drive back to town was quiet. Aaron kept glancing at me like he was waiting for me to break down, start crying, punch something, but I felt strangely calm, clear-headed in a way I hadn't been in months. "What are you going to do?" he finally asked. "Make sure everyone knows who she really is." That night, I sat at our shared computer and began methodically documenting everything. Screenshots of Lorelai's Instagram posts with Travis, photos of Travis's criminal record, which Aaron had pulled from public databases, the fake ransom texts, the photos and audio from the farmhouse. Then I started making calls. The first was to Lorelai's sister, Marissa. She answered on the second ring. "Isaac, it's late. Is everything okay?" "Lorelai's been having an affair," I said without preamble. "She staged her own abduction to try to steal money from me." There was a pause on the line. Then, cautiously, Marissa asked, "What are you talking about?" I walked her through everything. Lorelai's sudden disappearance, the cryptic Instagram posts, the ransom demands, and finally, finding her and Travis at the farmhouse. As we spoke, I forwarded her the photos and screenshots. "Oh my God," she whispered after a moment. "Isaac, I'm so sorry. I had no idea." "Did she seem unhappy when you talked to her recently?" I asked. She complained about being bored sometimes, said you worked too much, but she never said anything about wanting to leave." "And nothing about Travis?" "Never," she said firmly. "Who is he?" "A criminal," I replied. "Pill dealer. Bouncer at Ronnie's bar." "Jesus Christ," Marissa muttered. "Isaac, what can I do?" "Nothing," I said coldly. "Just wanted you to know what kind of person your sister really is." The second call was to Lorelai's work. I got her supervisor's voicemail and left a detailed message outlining the attempted fraud. I attached all the relevant evidence, text threads, photos, and the audio Aaron had recorded. The third call was to my lawyer. "Isaac," Mike Henderson said, picking up after a couple rings. "It's past midnight. What's the emergency?" "I need to file for divorce. Immediately," I told him. "And I need to pursue fraud charges." Mike had handled our wills, the house purchase. He knew Lorelai and me as a couple. This was going to hit hard. "What happened?" he asked, voice suddenly sharper. I gave him the condensed version. The affair, the fake abduction, the ransom demand. "Jesus," he muttered. "You have evidence? Photos, texts, audio recordings, witnesses?" "Bring everything to my office first thing Monday morning," Mike said. "We'll file the papers that afternoon. I also want to freeze all our joint accounts. I can make a few calls and request emergency orders. This is fraud, Isaac. Real fraud. She could face criminal charges." "I'm counting on it," I said. After I hung up, I opened a new email and began typing. The subject line read, "The truth about Lorelai Berman." I sent it to everyone in her contacts list. Her coworkers, her college friends, her extended family, her book club, her yoga instructor, everyone. The email included a full timeline of events along with selected photos and screenshots. Nothing explicit, nothing that crossed legal lines, just the facts, laid out clearly and objectively. I hit send at 2:17 a.m. By morning, my phone was ringing constantly. The first call came from Marissa. She was crying. "Isaac, my phone hasn't stopped buzzing," she said between shaky breaths. "Everyone's calling me, asking if it's true." "It's true," I said flatly. "Some of the photos, where did they come from?" "I took them last night, at the farmhouse where they were hiding." "You followed them?" Her voice rose in disbelief. "I rescued my wife from her own abduction scam." Marissa was silent for a long time. Then, in a whisper, she said, "What she did, Isaac, this isn't like her." "This is exactly like her," I replied. "You just never saw it before." The second call came from my lawyer. "The emergency freeze went through," Mike said. "All joint accounts are locked pending the divorce proceedings. Also, I've been contacted by the DA's office. They want to meet with you about potential criminal charges." "Good," I said. Mike hesitated. "Isaac, are you sure about this? Once we file these charges, there's no going back. Lorelai could face serious jail time." "I'm sure." The third call was from an unfamiliar number. "Isaac," the caller said, "this is Detective Ward with Fort Union PD. I need to speak with you about an abduction report that was filed this morning." "Who filed it?" "Lorelai Berman," he said. "She claims she was held against her will by her husband and another man." I couldn't help it. I laughed, loud and bitter. "Detective," I said, regaining composure. I have evidence that my wife staged her own abduction to steal money from me. Would you like to see it? I think we need to meet in person, he replied. An hour later, I was sitting in a small interview room at the police station. Across from me sat Detective Ward. Mike, now fully looped in, sat at my side. I walked them through the entire timeline. Lorelei's behavior, the fake ransom, our discovery at the farmhouse. I provided photos, text messages, even audio clips Aaron had recorded. I answered every question. This is unusual, Detective Ward said, scrolling through the evidence. Your wife's story is completely different. What's her story? I asked. She says you've been abusive for months, that she was afraid to leave, so she planned to disappear. She claims you tracked her down and threatened her and her friend. Travis Rook isn't her friend, I said coldly. He's her accomplice. Check his record. We're aware of Mr. Rook's history, Ward replied, making a note. He's actually wanted on an unrelated warrant. We picked him up this morning. Where's Lorelei now? I asked. She's safe, the detective said. That's all I can tell you. After the interview, Mike and I walked to his office to finalize the divorce filing. How do you feel? He asked as we sorted through the paperwork. Like I'm seeing clearly for the first time in years, I said. Any regrets? I paused, thinking of the life Lorelei and I had built, or tried to, the promises, the photos on the walls, the quiet mornings that now felt like illusions. No, I said finally. No regrets. The paperwork took 3 hours. We filed a divorce petition citing infidelity and fraud, a restraining order to block her from accessing any shared assets, and a civil suit to recover damages from the attempted theft. This is comprehensive, Mike said, reviewing the final stack of documents. You're not leaving her much room to maneuver. Good. She'll want to get her things from the house. She can send someone, I said without hesitation. I don't want to see her again. That afternoon, I went back to work. Aaron was already waiting by my station. How'd it go? He asked. Divorce filed, accounts frozen, criminal investigation opened. And Lorelei? Told the police I abducted her. Aaron gave a low whistle. That's bold. No, I said. That's desperate. We worked in silence for a while, the kind that feels like understanding. Aaron had been through 2 divorces. He knew the weight of cutting loose something that had been slowly choking the life out of you. Around lunch, my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Isaac, it's me. Lorelei's voice was small, uncertain. I'm not supposed to be calling you, but I need to explain. I hung up. She called again immediately. I let it ring, then again and again. On the 5th call, I answered. Stop calling me, I said. Isaac, please, just listen. Travis, he's not who I thought he was. He threatened me. He made me go along with the ransom thing. I was scared. You were scared when you were laughing with him at the farmhouse? You don't understand. I understand perfectly, I said, voice low and steady. You wanted out of our marriage. You found someone who made life feel more exciting. And when that didn't work out, you tried to steal from me to fund your escape. Now you're in trouble, and you want sympathy. That's not... Don't call me again, Lorelei, I said. Talk to your lawyer. I hung up and blocked her number, but she kept trying. Different numbers, borrowed phones, voicemails from friends and family members asking me to just talk to her. I ignored them all. A week later, Mike called with an update. Travis Rook took a plea deal, he said as soon as I answered. Pled guilty to attempted extortion in exchange for reduced charges on his outstanding pill warrant. He gave a full statement implicating Lorelei in the abduction scheme. I leaned back in my chair, the weight of it all slowly settling. What's that mean for her? Criminal charges, Mike replied. Fraud, conspiracy, attempted theft. She's looking at potential jail time. Good, I said with no hesitation. There was a pause on the line before Mike continued. Her lawyer reached out. They want to discuss a settlement. Lorelei is willing to waive any claim to marital assets in exchange for dropping the criminal charges. No, I said firmly. You sure? He asked. It would be a clean break. No courtroom drama, no risk of her dragging this out. I'm sure, I said. I want her to face the consequences of what she did. All right, Mike said. I'll pass that along. He hesitated a moment, then added, Also, I've been getting calls from various people, reporters, mutual acquaintances, even a few legal colleagues. They're asking about character witnesses. I exhaled slowly. So word's getting out. Yeah, it's spreading. Let it, I said. I'm not hiding from any of this. That was an understatement. The email I'd sent had been shared and forwarded throughout Lorelai's social circles. Her Instagram and Facebook accounts had been flooded with comments and questions. She'd eventually deleted both. Her job at the bank had put her on administrative leave, pending their own investigation into her personal conduct issues. Her book club had asked her not to return. Her yoga studio had canceled her membership after other members complained about feeling uncomfortable around her. The local newspaper had even picked up the story, running a small piece about local woman charged in fake abduction scheme. Lorelai's reputation was in ruins, and I felt nothing but satisfaction. 2 weeks after the farmhouse incident, I was grocery shopping when I ran into Janet Morrison, one of Lorelai's coworkers from the bank. "Isaac," she said, stopping in front of the produce section. Her expression was tight with discomfort. "I'm so sorry about everything." "Thank you," I replied, keeping my voice even. "We had no idea," Janet continued. "Lorelai always seemed so normal." I shrugged. "People hide things." She looked down at her shoes. "Some of us feel terrible." "We should have seen the signs." "What signs?" I asked. Janet shifted her weight from foot to foot, clearly unsure if she should say more. "Well, she'd been acting different lately. More secretive, always on her phone. She'd take these long lunch breaks and come back looking, I don't know, guilty." "You think she was meeting Travis during work hours?" "Maybe," she said. She'd also been asking weird questions about bank policies, like how long it takes to trace electronic transfers or what kind of documentation you need to dispute charges. "She was researching how to steal from me," I said, more to myself than to her. Janet nodded sadly. "The worst part is, she kept talking about you, saying you didn't appreciate her, that you were boring, that she deserved more excitement. But then she'd turn around and ask questions about your work schedule, your salary, your savings account." I shook my head. "She was planning this for months." "I think so," Janet said softly. "Isaac, I'm really sorry. If we'd known what she was planning..." "It's not your fault," I told her. But as I drove home, the conversation lingered. I couldn't stop thinking about how many people might have seen the warning signs. People who heard Lorelai complain about our marriage while she was secretly plotting to destroy it. How many coworkers, friends, even family members had looked the other way, either out of disbelief or discomfort? How many had known the truth, or at least sensed it, and let it happen anyway? That night, my phone rang. It was Marissa. "Isaac," she said without preamble, "I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest." "Okay. Are you done?" she asked. "With your revenge, I mean? Because what's happening to Lorelai, it's destroying her." "Good," I said without a shred of sympathy. "She's staying in a women's shelter," Marissa went on. "She can't get a job. People recognize her from the newspaper article. She can't even go to the grocery store without getting stared at. That's unfortunate." "Isaac, she's my sister," she said, her voice tight. "I know what she did was wrong, but nothing," I cut in. "She made her choices. She's talking about leaving town, starting over somewhere else. She should have thought about that before she tried to steal from me." "You got your money back," Marissa pointed out. "The bank's keeping her on leave with pay while this sorts out. Travis is going to jail. Isn't that enough?" I didn't answer right away. I thought instead about Lorelai laughing at something on her phone while I stood over the stove making dinner for the two of us, unaware that she was texting another man. I thought about her getting dressed up for work happy hours that were actually dates. I thought about all the nights we spent together while she was planning how to betray me. "No," I said at last. "It's not enough." Marissa was silent for a few seconds. Then she asked quietly, "What happened to you, Isaac? You used to be such a kind person." "I'm still kind," I replied, "to people who deserve it." "She deserves some compassion," she insisted. "She made mistakes, but..." "She didn't make mistakes," I said firmly. "She made calculated decisions, to lie, to cheat, to steal every day for months. That's not a mistake. That's who she is." Marissa's voice grew sharper. "So what? You're going to punish her forever?" "I'm going to let her live with the consequences of her actions," I said. "That's different." After I hung up, I realized I meant it. I wasn't actively trying to destroy Lorelai anymore. I'd simply made sure everyone knew the truth about who she was. What happened next was up to them, and apparently most people didn't want to associate with someone who would fake her own abduction to steal money. The criminal trial was scheduled for 6 weeks later. Mike advised me that Lorelai's lawyer was pushing hard for a plea deal, but the DA was reluctant to negotiate. "Public opinion matters," Mike explained. This case has gotten a lot of attention. The DA doesn't want to look soft on fraud. What's the likely sentence if she's convicted? 2 to 5 years, probably suspended to probation and community service for a first offense. But she'll have a felony record. Will that affect her ability to work in banking? She'll never work in financial services again. The thought gave me deep satisfaction. A month before the trial, I was working late at the depot when Aaron approached my station. "You've got a visitor," he said. "Who?" "See for yourself." I walked to the front office and looked through the window. Lorelei was standing by the entrance, wearing jeans and a plain sweater I didn't recognize. She looked thin, worn out. Her hair was shorter, unstyled, no makeup, just a version of her I'd never seen before. "I'm not talking to her," I said, turning back to Aaron. "She's been out there for an hour," he replied, glancing toward the window. "Says she'll wait as long as it takes. Then she'll be waiting a long time." But Aaron didn't look away. He was studying me instead. "When's the last time you saw her?" "The farmhouse." "That was 2 months ago." "So?" I asked, folding my arms. "So maybe you should hear what she has to say," he said gently. "Why?" "Because you're going to wonder about it forever if you don't." I looked through the glass again. Lorelei was sitting on a bench now, head bowed, her hands clasped in her lap. Everything about her posture radiated defeat. "5 minutes," I muttered, and headed for the door. She looked up as I stepped outside. Her voice was soft. "Isaac, you have 5 minutes." Lorelei stood slowly. "I know you don't want to see me. I know you probably hate me. But I need to tell you something. Talk." "Travis is testifying against me at the trial," she said. "He's lying. About some things, I mean. He's making it sound like the whole thing was my idea, like I planned everything." I looked her over. The designer wardrobe was gone. The flawless makeup, the polished smile, gone. She looked like a person now, a broken one. "Wasn't it your idea?" I asked. "Some of it," she admitted, "but not the ransom. That was all him." "But you went along with it." "Yes. And you lied to me for months." "Yes. And you were planning to leave me regardless." She nodded. Tears slipped down her cheeks. "Then what exactly is Travis lying about?" "He's saying I seduced him, that I came on to him first, that I convinced him to help me steal from you." "And that's not true?" "It is true," she whispered. "But it's not the whole truth." I waited. "Isaac, I was unhappy. I felt invisible in our marriage. You worked all the time. We never talked about anything important. We never did anything spontaneous. I felt like I was disappearing. So you cheated." "So I made bad choices," she said. "I started going to places where men noticed me, where I could feel attractive again. Like Murphy's Bar." She nodded. "Yes, and Travis noticed me. He was charming and exciting. He made me feel special. At first it was just flirting, then texting, then drinks." "When did it become about money?" I asked. "When I told him I wanted to leave you but couldn't afford to. He said he had an idea, a way to get enough money to start over. The fake abduction." Lorelei lowered her eyes. "He said it would be easy. I'd disappear for a few days. He'd send some scary messages. You'd pay the ransom. We'd split it and leave town." "But it didn't work out that way," I said. "No," she said quietly. "When you showed up at the farmhouse, Travis got angry. He said you'd ruined everything. He started talking about really hurting you, about making it look like self-defense." A chill ran through me. "What do you mean?" She looked up, face pale. "He had a tool, Isaac, hidden in the kitchen. When you and Aaron left us alone for those few minutes, he showed it to me. Said if you came back, he was going to shoot you, claim you attacked us." The wind cut sharper through the air around us. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. "Because even though I betrayed you, even though I hurt you, I never wanted you dead," she said. "And Travis, he would have done it without blinking." I studied her. She wasn't lying. I could see it in her eyes. The fear there was real. "Is that all?" "No." She reached into her purse and pulled out a small recording device. "I've been recording everything Travis says about that night, about his real plans, his threats. I'm giving this to the prosecutor." I stared at the recorder in her hand. "Why?" "Because you saved my life that night," she said. "Whether you meant to or not. If you hadn't shown up when you did, if you hadn't brought Aaron, Travis might have eliminated me too." She held the device out. "I'm not asking for forgiveness, Isaac," she continued. "I know what I did can't be undone, but But I don't want Travis to walk away from this pretending he was some poor guy manipulated by a scheming wife. He's dangerous. Really dangerous. I took the recorder. "Your 5 minutes are up," I said. Lorelei nodded and turned toward the old Toyota parked by the curb. She walked slowly, like her body weighed more than she could carry. "Lorelei," I called out. She turned back, eyes red. "Why didn't you just ask for a divorce?" Her voice was small. "Because I was a coward," she said. "I thought it would be easier to disappear than to face what I'd done to our marriage. And now? Now I know there's no easy way out of the choices you make." She got in the car and drove away. I stood in the parking lot for a long time, holding the recorder, thinking about what she'd said. About Travis having a tool, about planning to eliminate me. The next morning, I took the recording to the DA's office. "This changes things," District Attorney Sarah Chen said after listening to it. "Travis Rook was planning significantly more serious crimes than we realized." What does this mean for Lorelei's case? It means she's definitely facing charges, but her cooperation could result in a more lenient sentence. This recording will be crucial in prosecuting Rook for conspiracy to commit homicide. He was really going to eliminate me? According to this, yes. And your wife too, eventually. Men like Rook don't leave witnesses. I walked out of the DA's office feeling oddly hollow. Learning that Lorelei had potentially saved my life didn't change what she'd done to our marriage, but it complicated my feelings about her punishment. That evening, Mike called. "Lorelei's lawyer reached out again," he said without preamble. "New offer on the table. She'll plead guilty to the fraud charges, accept probation and community service, give up all claims to marital assets, and agree to testify against Travis in exchange for you dropping the civil suit." I leaned back in my chair, absorbing the offer. "What do you think?" Mike didn't hesitate. "I think you've already won, Isaac. Her reputation is destroyed. Her career's finished. She's going to walk around with a felony on her record for the rest of her life. The civil suit at this point, it's just about money." "I don't need the money," I said quietly. "Then what do you need?" he asked. I thought about that question for the rest of the evening. The trial began 3 weeks later. I testified on the first day, walking the jury through the timeline of events. Lorelei's lawyer didn't cross-examine me aggressively. They were clearly focused on minimizing her sentence rather than fighting the charges. Travis's trial was scheduled separately, but his lawyer had requested to observe Lorelei's proceedings. He sat in the back of the courtroom, taking notes and whispering to his client. On the second day, Lorelei testified in her own defense. She was honest about her affair, honest about planning to leave me, honest about going along with the ransom scheme, but she also testified about Travis's escalating threats and his plan to eliminate me. The prosecutor played the recording she'd made. Travis's voice filled the courtroom, describing in detail how he would have shot me and claimed self-defense. "She was useful for the money," Travis's voice said. "But after that, she would have been a liability. They both would have been..." Several jurors looked visibly shaken. Travis's lawyer objected repeatedly, but the recording was clear and damning. On the third day, the jury deliberated for 4 hours before returning a guilty verdict on all charges against Lorelei. The judge scheduled sentencing for the following week. Outside the courthouse, reporters asked me how I felt about the verdict. "Justice was served," I said. "Do you have any comment about your wife's testimony regarding Travis Rook's homicide plot?" "My ex-wife," I corrected, "and no comment." "Are you satisfied with the outcome?" I thought about the question. Was I satisfied? Lorelei would have a felony record. She'd lost her job, her reputation, her social circle. She was living in a shelter, driving a 15-year-old car, facing months of community service. Travis was facing additional charges that could put him in prison for decades. Our marriage was over, dissolved in a spectacular public scandal that would follow both of us for years. "Yes," I said, "I'm satisfied." But as I drove home, I realized that wasn't entirely true. Satisfaction implied that my desire for revenge was complete. But what I actually felt was something closer to emptiness. The anger that had driven me for months was gone, replaced by a strange sense of anticlimax. I'd won. Completely and thoroughly. But winning felt different than I'd expected. The sentencing hearing was held the following Tuesday. Lorelei received 3 years probation, 500 hours of community service, and restitution for legal costs. The judge also ordered her to have no contact with me for the duration of her probation. Travis received 15 years in prison after pleading guilty to conspiracy to commit homicide, among other charges. After the hearing, I walked to my car alone. The courthouse parking lot was nearly empty, just a few scattered vehicles baking in the late afternoon sun. Isaac! I turned at the sound of my name. Lorelei stood at the bottom of the courthouse steps, a small suitcase by her side. I thought you weren't supposed to contact me, I said, my voice calm. She gave a faint shrug. The no-contact order doesn't start until tomorrow. I didn't reply. I just waited. I'm leaving town tonight, she said. Starting over somewhere else. Good luck, she hesitated. I wanted to say, I'm sorry for all of it. I know that doesn't change anything, but I needed to say it. I looked at her fully then. She wore the same plain clothes from the night she'd come to see me at work. Jeans, a simple top, no jewelry, no makeup. She looked younger somehow, closer to the woman I'd married 8 years ago. Why? I asked. Her brow furrowed. Why what? Why throw away everything we built for someone like Travis? She was quiet for a long time before answering. Because I forgot who I was, she said finally. I got so focused on who I thought I wanted to be that I lost track of who I actually was, and by the time I remembered it was too late. I nodded slowly. Do you regret it? I regret hurting you, she said. I regret the lying, the stealing, the public humiliation, but I don't regret leaving. Our marriage was already over. We just hadn't admitted it yet. I didn't argue. She was right. I'd known it too, deep down. I just hadn't wanted to face it. Will you be okay? I asked. Eventually, she said. Then after a pause, will you? I thought about going home to our quiet, empty house, about sleeping alone, cooking dinner for one, and the stillness I'd come to accept. I thought about the strange, unexpected peace I'd felt since the trial ended. Yeah, I said. I think I will. Lorelei nodded, then turned and started walking toward her car. Lorelei, I called after her. She turned, her expression uncertain. For what it's worth, I said, I hope you find whatever you're looking for. A small, grateful smile touched her lips. Thank you. She got in her car and drove away. I watched until her taillights disappeared around a corner. Then I went home to start the next chapter of my life. 6 months later, I was having coffee with Aaron when my phone buzzed. Text from unknown number. This is Marissa. Lorelei wanted you to know she's doing well. She's in Oregon, working as a waitress, going to community college at night. She wanted to thank you for the recording that helped convict Travis. He would have eliminated you both. I showed the text to Aaron. You going to respond? He asked. No. Any regrets? I thought about the question I'd been asked a dozen times over the past year. Did I regret exposing Lorelei so completely? Did I regret destroying her reputation, her career, her social life? Did I regret becoming the kind of man who could methodically dismantle another person's existence? No, I said. No regrets. Aaron nodded. Good. She made her choice. You just made sure there were consequences. That evening, I deleted Marissa's text without responding. Then I blocked the number. Some stories don't end with forgiveness or reconciliation. Some stories end with justice, consequences, and the cold satisfaction of knowing that actions have meanings. Some stories end with the realization that loyalty and love are finite resources, and when someone betrays them completely, they forfeit any claim to mercy. Lorelei had wanted excitement and adventure. She'd wanted to feel special and desired and free from the constraints of marriage. She'd gotten exactly what she asked for, and I'd gotten exactly what I'd worked for. A life free from lies, betrayal, and people who would steal from those who trusted them. I'd become someone different in the process. Harder, colder, less trusting, but also more honest about what I would and wouldn't accept from the people in my life. Some people might call that transformation a tragedy. I called it evolution. The house felt different now, cleaner somehow. Like removing Lorelei had also removed a contamination I hadn't even noticed while she was there. I'd kept most of our furniture, but replaced anything that reminded me too strongly of her. New bedding, new couch, new dishes. The wedding photos had gone into a box in the garage the day after she left. I dated occasionally, but found myself with little patience for games or drama. I developed an ability to spot deception that made casual relationships difficult. Most women found my directness either intimidating or refreshing, with little middle ground. At work, I'd earned a reputation as someone you didn't want to cross. Not because I was cruel or vindictive by nature, but because people had heard what happened to those who betrayed my trust. Aaron, now a supervisor, often came to me for input on personnel decisions. You've got good instincts about people, he said once, tapping a stack of resumes. I learned the hard way. I replied. A year after the trial, I got a call from Detective Ward. Isaac, he said, just wanted to let you know Travis Rook was stabbed in prison last week. He's alive, but he's going to be in medical for a while. Okay, I said, neutral. Thought you should know, in case anyone reaches out to you about it. Anyone like who? I asked. His family's been making some noise, Ward said, claiming you entrapped him somehow, that you provoked everything. That's ridiculous. I know, he agreed. Just giving you a heads up in case they try to contact you. They never did. 2 years after the divorce was finalized, I was walking through the produce section at Greenway Market when I heard a familiar voice. Isaac. Janet Morrison smiled, genuinely pleased to see me. How are you doing? I'm well, I said. You? Good, she replied. I heard you're seeing someone new. I was. Patricia, a nurse at the county hospital, was smart, grounded, and allergic to drama. We'd been together for 6 months. Where'd you hear that? I asked, curious. Janet chuckled. Fort Union's a small town. People talk. She studied me for a moment, then said, You look good. Happy. I am happy. I'm glad, she said. You deserve it after everything you went through. Thank you. Janet hesitated, then asked, Can I ask you something? Sure. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you'd just let it go? If you'd accepted the divorce quietly and moved on without all the publicity? I considered her question. It wasn't the first time someone had asked something like that. No, I said. I don't wonder about that. Why not? She asked, tilting her head. Because then Lorelei would have gotten away with it, I replied. She would have stolen from me, lied to everyone about why our marriage ended, and started a new life with money she took from someone who trusted her. Janet's expression softened. But the cost was worth it. She nodded slowly. I guess I understand that. Do you? I asked. Yeah, she said quietly. I think I do. Some things are too important to let slide. Exactly. As I drove home, I thought about the conversation. Janet had asked a fair question. What if I'd just accepted Lorelei's betrayal, quietly divorced her, and moved on? I would have been the wronged party, the sympathetic figure. People would have felt sorry for me. Lorelei might have felt guilty about what she'd done, but she also would have gotten away with it. She would have kept her job, her reputation, her social circle. She might have even gotten alimony in the divorce settlement. And most importantly, she would have learned that her actions didn't have real consequences, that she could betray someone completely and still land on her feet. That lesson would have served her poorly in future relationships. By ensuring she faced the full consequences of her choices, I'd done her a favor, in a way. I taught her that actions have meanings, that trust once broken couldn't be easily repaired, and that some betrayals came with costs that lasted years. Whether she learned from those lessons was up to her. 3 years after everything started, I was promoted to lead technician at the depot. The job came with a significant raise, a title plaque, and a small office of my own. On my first day, Aaron stopped by, a coffee in hand. Congratulations, he said, dropping into the chair across from my desk. Thanks, I replied, leaning back slightly. Feels good. You've come a long way, he said with a smile. We both have. Aaron had remarried the year before. His wife worked in the depot's accounting department. From everything I'd seen, they were genuinely happy together, comfortable in a way that looked easy. Can I ask you something? He said, watching me closely. Always. Do you ever miss it, being married? I thought for a moment. I miss being married to someone I could trust. He raised an eyebrow. That's not the same thing. No, I agreed. It's not. Aaron glanced toward the photo on my desk, Patricia and me at a fall festival, arms around each other, both laughing. Patricia seems nice, he said. She is nice. Marriage material? I smiled. Maybe. She's not like Lorelei? Not even close, I said. Patricia's honest. She's direct. No games, no drama. Says what she means and means what she says. Aaron nodded thoughtfully. You do things differently this time? I'd pay closer attention, I said. To what? To whether the person I'm with is actually the person they're pretending to be. That's probably smart, he said, getting up. Congrats again. You've earned this. That evening, I had dinner with Patricia at her apartment. She was a far better cook than I'd ever be and took real joy in feeding people. The kind of person who made a meal feel like an invitation rather than a task. As we sat at the small kitchen table, she passed me a plate. "How was your first day as lead tech?" she asked. "Good," I said. "Different." She tilted her head. "Different how?" "More responsibility, more decisions to make." Patricia studied my face. She had a quiet, intuitive way of reading people. Like Aaron, but warmer. "Are you worried about something?" she asked. "Should I be?" She didn't blink. "I don't know. You tell me." That was one of the things I liked most about her. No hidden agendas. If she wanted to know something, she asked. "I was thinking about my ex-wife today," I said. Patricia didn't flinch. "Okay. About what would have happened if I'd handled things differently." "Any regrets?" she asked. "No, but I wonder sometimes if I went too far." She was quiet for a moment. "What did she do again?" "Just the basics." "She had an affair, planned to leave me, faked her own abduction to steal money from me, then lied to the police, tried to get me arrested." Patricia looked at me steadily. "And what did you do?" "I exposed her, made sure everyone knew the truth." "And the result?" "She lost her job, her reputation, most of her friends, had to leave town." Patricia nodded slowly, processing. "And you think that was too harsh?" "Some people do," I said. "What do you think?" I hesitated. "I think she got exactly what she deserved." "Then why are you questioning it?" she asked. I leaned back slightly, thinking. "Because I've never been that ruthless before. It changed me." "Into what?" "Someone who doesn't forgive easily," I said. "Someone who believes in consequences." Patricia reached across the table and took my hand. "Isaac," she said gently, "your ex-wife didn't just cheat or walk away. She tried to ruin you. She lied to the police to try to get you thrown in prison. That's not a mistake. That's a pattern of calculated cruelty." "I know," I said quietly. "And you didn't hurt her. You didn't lie about her. You didn't break any laws. You just made sure the truth came out." "The truth destroyed her life." "No," Patricia said. "Her choices destroyed her life. You just made sure those choices had consequences." She squeezed my hand. "The world needs more people like you, Isaac. People who don't let cruelty slide just because it's easier." I looked into her eyes. "You really believe that?" "I really do," she said. "And I'm proud of you." That night, lying in Patricia's bed, I thought about the man I'd been 3 years ago. Trusting, loyal, willing to overlook small betrayals for the sake of peace. That man would have been destroyed by what Lorelei did. He would have blamed himself, wondered what he could have done differently, probably ended up paying the ransom and losing his wife anyway. The man I'd become had seen the betrayal clearly, responded strategically, and ensured that justice was served. I preferred the man I'd become. 4 years after the trial, I married Patricia in a small ceremony at the courthouse. Aaron was my best man. Patricia's sister was her maid of honor. No big reception, no honeymoon, no drama, just two people who'd chosen each other with clear eyes and honest intentions. On our wedding night, Patricia asked me the question I'd been expecting. "Do you think you'll ever hear from her again?" "Lorelei?" "No." "How can you be sure?" "Because she's smart enough to know that chapter of her life is closed. And if she did contact you, I'd tell her the same thing I told her the last time we talked. Good luck with your new life." "Nothing more?" "Nothing more." Patricia nodded, satisfied. "What about you?" I asked. "Any ex-husbands I should know about?" "One? He cheated with my best friend." "What did you do?" "Divorced him and cut them both out of my life completely." "That's it?" "That's it. Some people aren't worth the energy it takes to destroy them." I thought about that. Patricia's approach was cleaner, simpler, but then her ex-husband hadn't tried to steal from her or frame her for abduction. Different situations call for different responses, I said. Agreed. 5 years after everything started, I was working late when Aaron knocked on my office door. "You might want to see this," he said, holding up his phone. It was a news article from a Portland newspaper. The headline read, "Local woman graduates summa cum laude from community college." The accompanying photo showed Lorelei in a cap and gown, smiling at the camera. She looked older, more mature. The caption identified her as Lorelei Williams, noting that she'd graduated with a degree in social work and planned to work with domestic violence survivors. "Williams?" I said. She changed her name. Smart move. I read the article. It mentioned that Lorelei had overcome personal challenges to complete her degree while working full-time. No mention of her criminal record or the circumstances that had brought her to Oregon. How do you feel about it? Aaron asked. Nothing. Nothing? She's moved on. I've moved on. What she does with her life now has nothing to do with me. Aaron nodded. That's probably healthy. Probably. But as I drove home that night, I found myself thinking about the article, about Lorelei working with domestic violence survivors, about whether she'd told them about her own past, about Travis and his plans to eliminate both of us. Maybe her experience had taught her something valuable about recognizing dangerous men. Maybe she was using what she'd learned to help other women avoid similar situations. Or maybe she was just looking for a career that would make people see her as sympathetic rather than criminal. I'd never know which it was, and I realized I didn't care. The Lorelei in that photo was a stranger to me. Whatever person she'd become over the past 5 years had nothing to do with the woman who'd betrayed our marriage and tried to steal from me. That woman had faced her consequences and learned her lessons. What she did with those lessons was her business. When I got home, Patricia was reading in bed. How was your day? She asked. Good. Aaron showed me something interesting. I told her about the article. Patricia listened without comment. How do you feel about it? She asked when I finished. Indifferent. Really? Really? It's been 5 years. She's not my problem anymore, Patricia smiled. Good. Why good? Because it means you're really over it, all of it. She was right, I was over it. Lorelei's betrayal had taught me valuable lessons about trust, consequences, and the importance of seeing people clearly rather than as I wanted them to be. Her punishment had taught me that justice was possible, even in situations where the system wasn't designed to provide it. And her absence had taught me what real peace felt like. I'd emerged from the wreckage of my first marriage stronger, wiser, and more honest about what I would and wouldn't accept from the people in my life. Some people might call that transformation a tragedy. I called it growth. The next morning, I deleted the article from my phone and never thought about Lorelei again. 6 months later, Patricia and I bought a house together. Not the house I'd shared with Lorelei, but a new one, chosen by both of us, filled with furniture and memories that belonged to our life together. On the day we moved in, Aaron and his wife helped us carry boxes. Fresh start, Aaron said as we finished unloading the truck. Fresh start, I agreed. That evening, Patricia and I sat on our new porch, drinking beer and watching the sunset. Happy? She asked. Very. Any regrets? I thought about the question that had been asked of me dozens of times over the years. Did I regret the way I'd handled Lorelei's betrayal? Did I regret the thoroughness of my response? Did I regret becoming the kind of man who could systematically destroy someone who had wronged him? No, I said. No regrets. Patricia nodded and took my hand. Good, she said. Some things are worth fighting for. Like what? Like truth, like justice, like making sure people face consequences for their choices. She was right. Some things were worth fighting for, and some people were worth becoming the kind of person who would fight for them. As the sun set on our new life together, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Complete satisfaction with the choices I'd made and the man I'd become. Lorelei had wanted excitement and adventure. She'd gotten it. I'd wanted justice and peace. I'd gotten them, too. We'd both gotten exactly what we'd worked for.